Ladies and gentlemen,
we are live
from
from the Shag Carpet Shack here in Columbia, Tennessee. What's up, everybody? We got Chase Blanchard.
We got Doug Lukonen, and this is the Power Move Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is your host, Doug Lukonen, and you're listening to the Power Move Podcast. And I've just done a complete heist of this show. I said, see you, Chase. I'm just taking over. Because when family's in town, you just gotta gang up. So here today we have Lexi and Levi, my cousins. This is the Lukonen Takeover episode. And these are our special guests, entrepreneurs, photographers, videographers, tree guy. They do it all. They build furniture. It's crazy. Anyways, welcome, guys. Introduce yourselves, Lexi, and let the people know what's up.
Hey guys, I am Lexi Lukonen. We are from right outside Raleigh, North Carolina, and we were in town for a quarantine wedding and stopped by to visit Dougie.
Boom. Levi.
Well, I'm Levi, and I am Dougie's cousin. Lexi is the married in, so we are Lukonen strong, and we are taking over. And Lexi's actually the tree guy. I do all the other stuff. I'm just kidding. But, no, I'm super excited to be here. Lexi pretty much told you the rest about us.
Well, thank you guys to exposing yourself to the craziness that is the Power Move Podcast. But today, we're going to, just like a normal episode, guys, we're going to roll into the Mo's of the Week. We're not going to leave that part out. So the first part is the Song of the Week. So they've done a lot of driving to get here and a lot of road time and kids and all that. And we're going to get into that later. But my Song of the Week is Wagon Wheel by Darius Rucker, that version. And mainly it's because of the trip that they took to get here from North Carolina to Tennessee. They came in from really Raleigh. They went, past Johnson City. So it's just a lot of landmarks mentioned in that song that they drove through. So it was just relatable to the situation. And honestly, it's a good poppy, like little feely song. It's like, oh yeah, it's a chill song. It makes you relax. It's a good sing-along. Puts you in a happy mood. So
yeah, we listened to that twice on the trip.
We did.
Just naturally.
We did.
Just came on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And Darius Rucker is from North Carolina, too.
Yes.
It just makes so much sense. Yep. Hootie and all of his blowfish. So,
All of them.
there you go. So, what is y'all's Song of the Week?
Well, my song of the week is Don't Waste Your Life by Lecrae, because that song just resonates with me. And, I think of a powerful song and a powerful message. I think that song, for years, me and Lexi would listen to that song to get fired up and to go do some powerful things, whether it be things we didn't want to do or things we wanted to do.
Yeah.
That song would come up and we're like, let's go.
Let's go. Yeah. That's one of the ones you're like, okay, like I woke up, it's Monday morning, I don't want to do any of this stuff. You kick it on and you're like, forget it, I'm jacked. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. How's it make you feel, Lexi?
I agree. It's so funny because as he just said that, how songs can connect memories, I was remembering sometimes when we were working really, really hard and things were not in the place where they are now. And that was one of the kind of anthems that we have. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, just like any episode, we're rolling into the power moves of the week. So, guys, I know you're on the show. So, the power move is, what have you done in the past week that was like above and beyond the normal checking the box in your day-to-day lives? Did you step up to the plate when no one was there to do a task? Did you exceed expectations? Did you get something, what did you do that was a tiny baby step or a big leap in the direction of the goals that you guys already have set for yourself. So with that said, I'll toss it to whoever's ready over here. You know, we've got the guests. They're here. We got Levi sitting in the leather throne, the honorary guest hot seat chair. And Chaze, don't take this personally, but Lexi is sitting in the velvet revolver co-host chair.
That's right.
She's rubbing these luscious, soft, velvety armrests, and you know where I'm sitting, you know, in the throne. So we're good. But anyways, what is a power move in the previous week that you feel that was beneficial and a big step in the direction of you and your goals?
So I know we're going to get into some of what we do, so I won't give too much details that way, but a little backstory. My sister lives in Nashville, and she has an Airbnb, and recently, actually in the last 2 weeks, her Airbnb unfortunately was trashed. Jeez. And somebody went in just in 2 days, totally destroyed her home. It was really sad, actually. And so when she was telling me about it, I am starting a segment of our company where I make some furniture, and I was like, well, why don't I just make you a couple? All of her side tables were ruined, and her coffee table was ruined. And so she was like, that would be amazing. And so I did some side tables. Those are really awesome. But then I wood burned this coffee table in like a custom art piece, and it was my first time wood burning. It's something I've always wanted to do. I was very nervous to do it, and when I completed it, well, you saw the picture of it. I was really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah,
and,
that's a good looking table.
Yeah, she thought it was pretty cool. So I wood burned a guitar into like a live oak or a live slab of pine, and yeah, it turned out really good. So
that's
that
very
was my
Nashville too. So that's
that was the
Airbnb.
point. That was the point. Yep.
We brought the land of the pine to Nashville.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's amazing.
Put a guitar on it.
So do you and this is a random question, kind of jumping ahead, but still important, I feel like, is there something on the furniture that says, hey, this was from you guys? Like,
I just
on there?
created my logo, just created it, and because it was so new, I actually did not burn it into hers because I had not practiced it. Yeah. So my plan is when I visit her next to just take the logo and add it to it. But yes, cool. I do have one now. It's awesome. Just rough drawn and not quite. I haven't wood burned it yet. I have found out, because I did wood burn Nashville into it, that letters are very hard. So I got to work on them a little bit.
Yeah. Awesome. How about you, Levi? What's that power move, brother?
Well, my power move was actually yesterday on the way to your house, because one thing us Lukonens are very good at is getting our point across,
yeah.
whether it is in the interest of anybody's feelings. And so I miscommunicated with Lex about what my intentions were and what we were going to do. I was throwing it out as, well, what do you think about us doing this? And she took it as, we're going to do this, and I don't have a say.
Yeah.
And so...
I didn't know you were going to talk about this.
Well, I am now. I'm going to be very vague because it's still fresh, but at the same time...
It's fresh.
Getting edgy on the
we got to be careful.
Podcast.
Keep it positive and not start arguments.
You said
so what
move.
was the power move? Let's go.
The power move was I accidentally took Lexi away from her family prematurely, not thinking, because they said everybody was going to take a nap, and I'm like, I didn't come here to nap. I came here to visit people. And so I'm like, if everybody's going to sleep, let's go. I'm coming to see Dougie.
We can sleep there.
Exactly.
After we have some fun.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. And so I thought
very simple, male-minded statement, I feel like. I like it. I'm on board with that. Anyways, what happened?
But anyways, and so she took it as, this is what we're doing. I said it as, well, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think?
No.
And so it came across those two different ways by the way we grew up, and that's been a struggle for our relationship for a long time, and I'm learning that. And so her sister's in the back. We're back and forth. Luckily, the windows were open, so I masked it a little bit. But it was just back and forth for probably 30 minutes. And then finally, I just shut it down, shut Lexi down. She's crying. And I'm like, this is how it's going to happen.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah, this is what's going on. You're unhappy either way, and I'm a terrible person either way. And
So I'm driving to Columbia.
Exactly.
3.5 hours. Boom.
But, so, in my thoughts, I thought, you know what? It was my mistake, and it was a miscommunication, and I did not need to make her feel that way. And so, we got out for gas. She's still devastated, and I'm still a little heated. But I'm like, I gotta fix this now, because it's not worth it. And so that was my power move of the week.
Hey, you gotta be self-aware. That's a good grab right there. That's a good move. That's a power move. Power moves.
Tell you what.
Amazing. So yeah, that's awesome. You know, it's weird how like you could get in an argument over like the smallest thing, and you both get so mad about it. Like that had happened to me, and we talked about it on Spouse Pod Season 2, Episode 3. Out right now. Go get it. Go watch it. Listen to it. If you're listening to this one, if you already listened to that one, thank you.
Subtle plug.
But yeah, subtle plug. Subtle dagger of a plug right there. So, you know, that it's crazy how something so small can become this big argument, and then you guys separate for a second, or you think for a second, and you what the hell am I doing? You know, what was I thinking? Like I was wrong. And so you go through the conversation, you're like, okay, I was wrong about that. I was wrong about that. Oh, I'm right on that. I'm not saying sorry for anything on that. Like you recap, and you're like, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say I'm sorry for those two things because I was wrong, and then I'm going to just see what the other person does. And if they say they're sorry too, that'll be really cool. But if they don't, we might start again. But I should probably just not start it again. Like it goes in a crazy direction.
Oh yeah.
So I've actually got a power move of the week and a honorary mention power move of the week that I forgot about before the show. So one was I moved some staff around. We had a department that's 5 people in an enclosed room that's kind of like has their own area segregated from the rest of the office. So we usually when something negative happens, because they're all kind of doing the same type of job, they're all technically in like payroll. And so sometimes a lot of negativity can get built up, and then it feeds and becomes contagious. And I could definitely see that happening down there. Like when people start getting upset about 72 degrees versus 74 degrees or vice versa. And like worrying about things that don't really affect their job, and, you know, just kind of, and also being a little like snarky to other departments. You like, we got to bring that positivity up. So what I did is I had a speech about it first. Like I brought them all into my office and had a conversation. But recently I moved my senior accountant down into that office so he can kind of just be around there and think and like just really evaluate all of the tendencies and things that are going on down there, and have a manager supervisor down there and encourage positivity, help people be calm and make decisions. And it's really, I felt like even though it's only been 1 week, it's been a better environment down there. You go down there and people are being constructive rather than saying like, oh my gosh, look at this mistake that this department made. You know, they're so terrible, blah, 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 blah. You know, rather than being negative and spreading that negativity, trying to be positive every single day and being constructive and helpful and just doing your part, you know. And so it's getting better down there. So that's one. And my honorary power move of the week, a little backup power move, is I actually took some time. I hadn't shot guns in a long, long time. 12 years, I think.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. I think I did shoot like a 7 years ago, maybe. But still a long time. So last Friday, on my lunch break, I went out and shot at a gun range for the first time in 12 years. So I pumped out about 50 9mm and 40 rounds, and it was pretty good. It was fun. It was odd. I went out here and practiced shooting Abby's gun, which is like this tiny little handgun. Like but the thing is like there's no weight on it, so there's a lot of kick for a gun like that big. It's not a revolver. It's not big enough to be, But anyways, like it had a lot of kick, so I practiced. And I was nervous because I was going with a bunch of my buddies that can shoot really well.
Yeah.
They've got their own setup, their own guns and stuff, and I was just using what was gonna be there. But it was a lot of fun, and the reason it was a power move is I was very skittish. Like I was like, man, what's the worst? You think what's the worst that could happen? Well, you could accidentally kill somebody. That's
pretty bad.
That's very good.
Going down in a dark place.
Yeah, let's be careful. And so once I got there and started like getting the hang of things again, like I was fine, and I ended up doing just fine. By the way, everybody, special guest Frank is still in the room. He's on his 5th episode. He really loves the pod. But shooting some guns, overcoming some anxiety on whether I was gonna accidentally clip somebody, but overcame a lot and got to shoot guns. So
awesome.
That's what happened, and those are your power moves of the week and your mows of the week, and we're complete. So now we're gonna get in. We throw pro advice in the garbage when we have a guest on the show, because that's what you're getting from the guest. And today we have 2 people that are young entrepreneurs that are family business together. They run it as a family. They're young parents with 2 loving, adorable children. And, that's kind of what we want to know. I think people would like to hear is the origin of Lexi and Levi and Lexi, and, where you guys came from just like on that relationship level, and then like roll over and tell us like, how did the tree guy come around? How did Strong Roots come around? How did, photography come around and all that fun stuff? So where do you guys originate from the beginning? And then, how did you get to where you are now? I know that's probably not something we can get done in like 20 minutes, but let's try let's do the Cliff Notes version, like the power topic version, and I guess it goes back to when you guys were like what, 17?
Yeah.
15?
15, 16.
15, 16. So, my dad is a leadership and financial speaker and teacher. So because of that, it's funny, when I grew up, I didn't actually know so many people in my town. Where I lived, I knew a lot of people around the country, around the world, and I sort of made friends that were in different locations than I was at most of the time because of the nature of his, what he did. So because of that, I had some really good friends in Michigan. I lived in Pennsylvania. They lived in Michigan. I was way back in the day, I was cyber schooled, which was very new concept at the time.
Brand new.
Cyber schooled.
Oh, I know.
It sounds powerful. Power!
It was geeky back then. But anyway.
It sounds like something the smart kids get invited to. Go ahead.
That's right. So I had the opportunity to be cyber schooled, and because of that could travel. And so when I was 16, I went to stay with a friend of mine in Michigan for a month. And during that time, we went to their church actually, and I met Gene Lukonen first, which is Levi's dad.
Uncle Gene. Shout out Uncle Gene.
There you was.
Tree guy, Michigan.
Then there was a very persuasive boy that made sure he was the first one that said hi to me, and that was Mr. Levi Lukonen.
I think us Lukonens have that in common. Like, when something new comes around, like light up like a Christmas tree. Like I got a new next door neighbor. Anyways, how was it? How was it seeing Lexi the first time? How did you feel?
Well, I will just say this, and I've told her this many times. When she walked in, of course, my dad was doing the Sunday school class, and so I had to be close to the front. Otherwise, there was some problems going to happen.
Yeah.
So they came in late.
Of course he did.
And you could hear the door open. I look back and see two of my friends coming in with this girl that I've never seen before. And the thing that stood out was that these two girls were very strong individuals. Like, they didn't get led anywhere. They were the leaders of the girl groups.
Yeah.
And Lexi's walking in there, brand new, don't know nobody, but she's like on the point of this group. And I'm like, oh, she's leading these two around, and there's something special going on in that.
Yeah.
I did.
So
I
I'm
had
like-
a lot of confidence.
So, saw that, and as soon as I got my opening, I was like, whoop!
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Levi.
Some call me Double L.
That's for a
Oh,
lot
my
of
goodness.
those.
A lot of Levi.
So that's how we met, and that's it.
Yeah, so the rest is history. Boom.
Boom.
No.
So we kept in contact. We visited, back in high school, we only visited like maybe once a year, twice a year.
Yeah.
But we were new to cell phones. We had our little flip phones at the time.
Yeah.
Razors.
No.
I didn't have a razor. I was medical.
Chocolate.
At a Voyager.
Voyager.
In a
Yes.
Voyager. I had
With the
my
big keyboard.
cheap
Yeah.
flip phone. I had to buy my own phone and my own plan, so we
Yeah.
got the cheap one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we kept in contact, and then we got engaged, and Levi moved to Pennsylvania, and then I was not sure I wanted to be in a relationship with him when it became close.
She found out the Lukonen temper.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You can hide that in a long distance relationship.
You can. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not mad. I'm going to cyber school.
So yeah.
AKA going to play Call of Duty. Anyway,
Cyber
go ahead,
school,
Lex.
those kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how we met. We got married after a year of being engaged. We got married very young. We were very stupid, but confident in our.
Maybe ignorant. That's stupid.
Yeah. We were very ignorant how hard of work marriage was. But I don't think I would take it back. I don't think I'd change it. Getting married so young. So we were both 20, just newly turned 20 when we got married. Yeah, and so we have traveled and lived in many different states. First Pennsylvania, then New York, then Michigan, and then back to Pennsylvania, and then North Carolina. So once we got to North Carolina, that's kind of where the tree guy started taking root.
So before we'll kick the tree guy off, what's been your favorite place to live so far?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Oh, North
Where are you at
Carolina.
now?
No.
Boom.
Yeah.
Nothing
No
even comes
question.
close.
Oh, yeah.
How is New York?
Awful.
Horrible.
I figured it would be.
It was,
I hate to be
dude,
like that, but
it is. New York is beautiful, and we still visit in the summer. But we lived there during the winter on one of the coldest winters they've had in the last 50 years.
and not like New York City at the bottom of the state, like
Yeah.
New York,
Canada, basically.
Adirondacks up
Oh,
by
wow.
Canada and Lake
Like-
Placid.
Like how far I guess were you from Buffalo and
Well,
like all
the
that?
Other
other
side.
side, but
Oh, okay.
up there. Like we
Wow.
were less than an hour away from
Canada.
And we were like 30 minutes from Vermont.
On purpose.
Yeah,
We
there was
went to
a
school there.
up there.
There was
Okay.
a school up there.
Makes
I think
sense.
I was going to. But
Awesome.
if we had never been up there, I would have
Mm-hmm.
never started Strong Roots.
Ooh.
So
Boom.
Hook.
Okay. So
Yeah.
there's the hook. So Strong Roots came from the tree guy. So how did the tree guy come about?
Well, the tree guy came from my father.
Father.
Might as well call him the tree man.
Shark bite.
Yeah. Have to find out about that story in another podcast.
Honestly, that's a whole podcast.
It is.
How Gene got bit by a shark.
Not even just the shark, just the story origins.
Yeah.
Because they change every time.
Yeah. Every time the shark gets a little bigger,
Yeah.
before long it'll be a megalodon. Anyways, go
You
ahead.
said it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But, anyways, so I grew up in the tree industry and found out by, I guess, osmosis that my dad was a different kind of tree guy. to where now I look back and I see all these tree guys that are like pretty rough. Like, they are not the people that you would be like, that is a very intellectual person there. That is like, that guy is doing that because he's got a couple screws loose in the head. Which, I mean, they're not wrong.
When you're up 100 foot in a tree, like you need somebody with some guts.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess the tree guy stemmed from, I always knew from a young age that I was going to build businesses. I just didn't know where that direction was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that training, we moved around a lot, like Lexi said, and I never found a place where I felt like this is where I want to stay for more than a couple of years. And we got to North Carolina, and we were there 2 months, and I was like, why didn't we do this 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this place is amazing. It has everything we want, and the economy, even then, was just skyrocketing. Like,
wow.
They're projecting in the area next to us in the next 5 years to have 750,000 people be moving into that area.
Jeez.
So it's like whoosh,
Through the
straight
roof.
up.
Wow.
And so I was working for a company then, and I was working
Crazy hours.
80, 100 hours a week.
Crazy hours.
And never seeing my family. Malachi was 3,
Yeah.
and Linya was
a baby.
And I would literally leave at 4:30 in the morning and get back around 9 p.m. So the kids would wait up for me and then have to go to bed as soon as I got there.
Oh, man.
And
That's tough.
And enough was enough. My boss was not an accommodating individual.
Was he appreciative of, like, all the time?
He was more of a, I will buy your loyalty with gifts.
Oh.
And so he tried to hang that over you.
Like, hey, you remember that one time kind of deal?
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I let you off to go help your dad because he cut his leg open with a chainsaw. Now you gotta work all the Saturdays this month.
Wow.
And stuff like that. And so it was enough. I was either gonna change jobs or something had to change.
Yeah.
And so I remember it vividly. We were at Wilmington, which is on the coast of North Carolina, and we were down there with Lexi's family and
It's
her
4th
dad.
of July. Yeah.
Was it 4th of July?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't remember the date, but I remember we went there to the beach with her whole family, and her dad was there, and we were just talking, and I was like, something's gotta change. Like, I'm thinking about changing jobs, which I'm gonna have to take a pay cut because this guy pays the best in this area, but I just can't take this anymore. And he's like, well, why don't you start your own business? And it just kind of reframed, but also brought that
Motivation?
motivation, but also the realization that you said you're going to build businesses, and you are very good at this. So why not start a business? You love it here.
Yeah.
And it just all kind of fell in line and clicked, and I'm like, yeah, I'll start a business.
And we never thought it was going to be a tree company.
Yeah.
One thing that was different about our relationship is we both were extremely motivated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that attracted us to each other. We both knew we wanted to be entrepreneurs from a young age. And even I had a very different philosophy. Like, I never went to a traditional college, and people asked me why. I was like, because I know what I want to do, and I don't need that type of training. I need this type of training. And so we both had the direction, but we didn't have the end goal. So with a little nudge from my dad, that was kind of like everything fell in place very quickly.
I don't want to shift what you said is we had the end goal, we just didn't know the direction that we were taking
Right.
to get there.
Yeah.
Right.
We thought it was going to be a different path, and this fell in place.
It kind of gave you an idea of, like, it gave you something you could see yourself
Absolutely.
accomplishing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, boom, birth of the tree guy
Yeah.
and see.
Absolutely.
Within
I
a
went in the
week,
next-
we had the LLC going.
Yeah.
We had a plan for investment, and he had let his boss know that he was done.
that week.
Yeah.
Boom, crack. See ya. Out of here.
Like from the week that we decided to start the business, then the end of the week I was done.
And any jobs you can't fulfill, send them to thetreeguync.com.
There you go. There you go.
Nice, awesome. So then okay, Tree Guy's born. Something that I think the listeners don't know is how long Lukonens have been in tree business. Like I know Aunt Joyce and like there's a ton of tree companies in Michigan.
Absolutely.
But I think something that is odd but has always been true about Lukonens is they're leaders or they're usually entrepreneurs. A lot of us are and have been, and so you're definitely right. We're starters because there's something we usually see that we're like, well, I think I could do that better if I did it this way, or I don't like how that's run. I think this would be like fair, or this would be better, or this would be a better service, or I could do this better if I did it this way. And you know what? I just like to be in control.
Yes.
So
Lukonens have a hard time settling for status quo.
Yeah. And so like Uncle Gene, I know that was his trees have been his whole career.
Yeah.
And then
I think
you
this
now
is
second
40
generation.
years. 40 years now, at least.
So Levi, you're 27, right?
Yes.
27. So you've really been around trees 27
Pretty
years.
much. Ran my first chainsaw by myself at 6 years old.
There you go. See, I have yet to run my first chainsaw by myself at 30. Yeah, I stayed way away from that family business. I went on one job with Uncle Ed.
Oh, Lord.
And
That's a good way to ruin
yeah.
it for you.
Well, and honestly, I raked up a bunch of branches and tossed them in a wood chipper. I
There you
didn't
go.
do any cutting. The cutting was done. But
Yeah.
it was just a one-day deal. But like that's the closest I got.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fun. But yeah, a lot of history with the tree
Absolutely.
business, dealing with wood, and now you guys also have a kind of like a spur off of that of what you can do with the stuff you guys cut down. You can reclaim it. Tell them about.
Yeah, so
Strong roots.
I'll go once we started the tree company. That's kind of where that was a couple of years ago, and then that fall was some pretty bad hurricanes in North Carolina, and so that's where the real work began, and we really found what we were made of at that point. And our philosophy with business was a little bit different, and I think a lot of it stemmed from my dad's being a financial trainer, and so we were willing to do really hard work at first in order to stay out of debt, to be able to build a company instead of buying stuff that would be more convenient but would put us in a ton of debt in a hard spot. And so that's how we built it, basically on our just me and Levi's back. And I got very good at knowing how to rope, now knowing how to climb and run the chipper and do all of those things. I did all of those, but now we're at the place where I was ready to step back a little bit from being in the field. I'm a young mom. I wanted to spend more time with my kids, but at heart, I was never just a mom, and I have always had kind of an artistic flair. I've always been really good at photography. I have a YouTube channel, but I was also really great at creating things. So when we lived in New York, our first year of marriage, we lived in a very, very small town called Scroon Lake, and there was basically no jobs. So I had 3 jobs to try to pay in cash Levi's school. And I worked whatever hours people would give me. Well, one of those jobs, the day job that I had, was roof carpentry. And so a friend of mine, well, my cousin actually on my dad's side, said, I work for this guy. He might be willing to hire you. My interview was, I went there. I'm like, I'm a good worker. I'm willing to learn. He's like, do you know how to run any carpentry tools, any power tools? I'm like, I know how to run a chainsaw. He was like, that'll work. See you Monday. And so that's kind of where it began. And I found out that I loved woodworking. I found out if you had the right tools, you could do a lot of things. And so I never thought in our tree company that I would move into creating that into an actual income. But I don't even really know how it happened, except like we would cut stuff down and they would see something that could fit in the chipper or could not fit in the chipper. I would look at it and be like, that would be a fabulous coffee table. So I started saving pieces, making them cut me different pieces and save them, which they were just so fond of because they were usually the heaviest, toughest, most gnarly pieces that I would like to save. And I just started creating my vision. And so I had a couple people that like looked at them. I was like unsure of myself of like, is this really a quality? I wanted to make something very quality. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because even with that coffee table, like I thought it was nice and I thought it was cool. And then the response I've gotten this week on when people actually saw it, like people are like, this is amazing. Like you need to sell this. And so I'm excited. So we're calling it Strong Roots, the company, which is kind of a cliche on how we started and just creating a good foundation. And I'm still in the process of figuring out all of the logistics stuff, if we're going to keep it in the same LLC as the tree guy, if we're going to create a different company, how all of that's going to work. But yeah, we're moving into that point, and in the next month I'll have the website up and the Instagram and start selling some pieces.
Start
That'd be pretty cool.
Adding some inventory, doing estimates.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So, boom. A couple of minutes, we went 10 years of history. We brought us all the way to the front. Stronger Roots is alive, Strong Roots.
Strong Roots. Yep.
Sorry, I went stronger. Powerful Roots.
Power Roots.
Power. So, anyways, we've got it all together now. People have a backstory, a foundation of what happened, and how you guys are here now. So, I guess, like, what's the toughest part about being an entrepreneur in the tree business?
That's a good question. I say the hardest part of being an entrepreneur is having employees, because what you want to do is not just have an employee. You want to empower a team to build, in a sense, a dynasty. And so the hardest part, I would say, is to share a vision that they can catch and keep it alive. And I guess the best analogy would be a fire. Like, we started this company and started right before a hurricane. So just to add to the analogy, you start with, most of the time, wet materials, and you got to find something dry and get it going and protect it and attend to it and stay with it, and then you keep building and building, and it gets stronger and stronger, but you still have to keep attentive to it, and then finally it blows up. And then that's when everybody says, you're an overnight success. But they didn't see all the struggle and attentiveness to building that. And so I guess the hardest part of that is to stay in the mindset of having the long-term vision of saying, these are not just employees. I can replace people, but that is going to be my biggest cost effectiveness if I can keep an employee and empower them to want to build the team and business with us.
Yeah. What about you, Lex?
That was really good. It's a good question, and I had a little bit more time to think, but I think I almost agree with you. I think one of the hardest parts it's easy to start something. Mm-hmm. You can start anything. The hardest part, and I also lead a group of young girls. We meet on Zoom right now, and we'll meet in person eventually when the world goes a little bit back to normal. But of middle school and high school girls. And one of the things that I was teaching them this last week is just the power of stickability when nobody is watching. And I think that for most people is the hardest thing, to continue to be motivated when you know you're never going to get recognized for the hardest things that you did. Mm-hmm. And I think what's powerful in that is if you learn how to do that, you know that nothing is ever going to stop you. But then you have to share that vision with people who didn't go through all of that stuff and create such a strong, tough skin. Yeah. You know, Levi and I have tougher skin than anybody we're bringing in because we went through all the stuff, and we created in ourselves a confidence and a vision and something that is powerful. Well, then you have to take that powerful thing, like Levi was saying, and transfer it to somebody who you're trying to
get to buy in. Yeah. And be a part of the vision with you.
Absolutely. And sometimes that's I would say one of the most difficult parts is it's almost easier to have a company that you run yourself, but you will never become a dynasty if you don't build a team. Yeah. And so I think that's one of the hardest parts.
Building a team. And not just any team, but a team that represents the vision.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So my random guess would be that maybe seasonality would be something tough to deal with. I know that with the tree guy in Michigan, you know, you're in Michigan, Uncle Gene's business. I mean, when it's deep winter, business slows down. Yeah. And so I don't know how that is in North Carolina, though.
Well, it's a lot different because we get super busy early spring and throughout fall, and that runs into hurricane season. Mm-hmm. And so our time to where we're already booked, we have to push stuff further because now we got to deal with storms. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of leads into our slow season, which is so much shorter, if any, because it just doesn't get as cold. Mm-hmm. Like we do not, the first year we lived down in North Carolina, they had a record low for a period of time where it was below 30 for 1 week, and it set records.
which like you'd be below 30 for months in Michigan.
Exactly. So it just really is a different dynamic because it almost, you skip winter, like it's very mild, but then it's just fall, hurricane season, spring, and everybody wants things done in the spring. So it's like a very small window, maybe 1 month out of the year that could be slow.
Yeah.
And I mean, even that, if you're strategic, you can make things happen in that time.
And that's kind of where originally some of the vision of the furniture creating was born, was because I needed to come up with hours for some of our employees. I didn't want to have to lay anybody off and start over. And so I was like, if I can get these things where it's still being productive, it's still moving towards something that's going to create a profit, we can do that. But honestly, this year, now that we have started plant health care as well, like we have so many, what we wanted for our tree company was to not be just somebody that's good at cutting trees. We wanted to offer a service that was for saving trees, for bettering your plant health care, that was for a total different type of feel. And what I wanted to do was, if somebody had a really unique tree cut down, like maybe I'll take a piece of that tree and I'll create something and give it back to you. You know,
That's
I wanted a really different experience.
That's really awesome. So, something that not everybody knows about trees. So, I guess two things I have is, one, can you explain what plant and tree healthcare is to people? And two is something I had thought about. Oh, and this is honestly, we can just do this one right now. Is landscaping on the horizon, like kind of landscaping and that kind of stuff, or is that something you guys are thinking about going in direction of, or no?
Well, as far as, I'll just explain plant healthcare real quick. Say you've got a tree, and you don't know, you see stuff growing on it that's not the tree, and you know, even with lack of experience, you're like,
something's wrong with that
wrong.
tree.
Yeah. And so that's where we can come in and say, assess the tree and say, well, it's got woolly adelgid aphids, and you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I will say, well, it's a bug, and we can treat it to get rid of those bugs. And it's pretty much, we can come in, diagnose your tree just like you would come in to the doctor's office to get diagnosed because you're feeling ill.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a whole new step to where we can even check out trees, like say they're, one instance is they're dying from the top. That usually indicates that there's root damage. And you see that a lot in new construction because you have heavy equipment driving over the root system, killing it. Mm-hmm. And so there's ways to fix that. But in a sense, plant healthcare is just beyond cutting trees. It's saying we are going to treat your trees so you can keep them and keep your property beautiful, because most of the time if you have big beautiful trees on your property, that was a selling point. You saw those and you're like, I want to keep those because I can't plant one today and have it look like that in my lifetime.
Yeah. So do you guys also treat trees that don't have health insurance?
I mean,
if they're willing to pay out of pocket.
None of my trees have health insurance, guys. I don't know. Do you submit
a
claim? What do you do?
Family discount for that.
you pretty much go under.
It's just jokes, folks.
You pretty much go under the whoever property health plan that is, and they end up paying a real big dividend.
Well,
it's kind of like having a child.
Yeah.
You know, they just kind of get roped in there.
No.
Yeah. Some home insurance policies will like cover tree removal, or but I don't know if. And one day I'm sure we'll have an insurance specialist on this, or come into the show and explain some stuff like that. But like, I don't know if people get like in their policies like, I want this tree covered for its health because I want this tree to be alive and on my property. Like, I think that would be something to put in a policy, but nobody here's an insurance specialist. Thank you for explaining what plant health care is, and I'm sorry I muddied the water.
No, that's totally fine.
But honestly, you know, your trees, talk to them. You know, holler at them. Say, hey, man, you might want to think about a little health insurance. You know, I've got health insurance, or I pay out of pocket to, you know, get diagnosed. Maybe you should too. Yeah. You don't want your trees just going out there just all willy-nilly.
All willy-nilly like.
Just no protection, just nothing.
No protection.
Yeah. Just photosynthesis just happening. Anyways. So, all right. So what about the landscaping?
To answer the landscaping question, that's not a direction that we really want to go in. It might be like we'll add in. I don't think we'll ever get to like mowing and stuff like that. Yeah. But we might get into like lawn care type stuff where we're helping create better lawns or trimming bushes and stuff like that. But right now, our specialty and what we're really focusing on building as a brand is specialty removals, like hard trees in tight spots, and also trimming, proper trimming trees, and creating a environment to where you are going to keep your trees the longest that you can.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because there is some, to answer the landscape question, there are so many companies in Raleigh that do excellent jobs landscaping, and I'm happy to have them have a business. But there's also so many tree companies who popped up from learning from different areas where Levi's learned very specifically what exactly to do. So because of that, there's a lot of companies that trim wrong and damage a lot of trees. And so we have actually walked away from a couple jobs because they wanted them cut a certain way that was improper, and we don't want that to be our name.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're trying to create. Like,
And it's hard to do that when you've got a client with money in hand ready to, I've had to do that back, when my business was active. I had to just tell somebody no.
Absolutely.
No, I'm not going to do that. No, you're not going to be my client, if that's what you want to do.
yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to do that because you've got a willing, paying customer square in front of you, but they want to tell you what you will do and not take into account laws or regulations or what would just be the best when you're the specialist doing the job.
Right.
Like, if they want you to do it a certain way, why did they call you? Like, it gets into this spiral, downward spiral. But it's good on you for standing your ground and making quality first and keeping the vision center focus on that. That's
Absolutely.
tough.
And the one last thing to add to that, I would say, is whenever I do talk to a client like that, they say, well, why can't you just cut it there? Or why are you more expensive than this other guy? I will always tell him, we may not be the cheapest, but we will be the most quality. We are not going to walk away from your property without you being happy with how your tree looks and without me being happy with the way we left your tree.
Yeah, that's awesome. That matters a lot because what it says is you care from the beginning to the end of the process, and that you're not going to leave anybody hanging, and you're going to do what's right by everybody, including your business, that tree, and the customer.
Absolutely.
So keeping those things number one, I think, helps you all out. So it's got to be a tough dynamic. You guys work together, you're entrepreneurs together, you have kids together, your parents together. Lexi's involved in 4 other things we're going to talk about here in a second. So how is it being a family that also is in business and works together?
That is a great question. And I will tell you this, that in this time of quarantine, people are learning who their family really is. To where with me and Lex, we built another business. It was a direct sales business together, and it forced us to learn who each other was or is, and it helped us a lot because most couples, even though they spend time together, they don't spend all the time together, to where we were forced to do that a long time. And then when we started the tree company, we thought we knew each other, and then Lexi
we thought
found
we were
out.
going to get divorced.
I didn't think we were going to get divorced. I thought she was going to kill me, hide my body somewhere. But it just brought a new level because it wasn't like you can leave for the day for work and come back and deal with the problem. It was like, no,
she's gonna
all
be there.
day. The problem's there.
Yeah.
It was
No room to breathe.
It was a good hard thing because one of the hardest dynamics in the beginning for me was treating Levi like my boss instead of my husband and allowing him to teach me like I was one of the guys.
Yeah.
And that's tough sometimes when I felt being harsh with me, but I couldn't think like a wife. And I couldn't get offended like a wife. Why? Because his life was literally in my hands. It's a very dangerous job. And I had to get over it very quickly in order for him to be safe. And so I think that really helped us because of the crucialness of the work and what you were doing. And like I said, I created tough skin where I was very sensitive before in our relationship. I got offended very easily, and I just learned that I just needed to put my big girl panties on, you know, and just
jump out there,
move past that. Yeah. I think that helped a lot.
Well, how about parenting as well? Like while you guys are, like I know Lexi, you've taken you're not in the field as much, so that you could kind of be with them, be with Linnea and Malachi, and so like, how does that wrap into like the business and day-to-day life as well?
You know, it's exciting.
It's
I do all of the office work. I do all of the phone calls, all of that stuff. Reason being, I'm a control freak, and I want all the customer service to run through me. If there's a problem, I want it to be one of my problems that I can solve, and I haven't quite been sanctified enough to get to the point of letting somebody else run that. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of times where I am running away from my children as I am on the phone with the client, like throwing it on mute, like, get over there now, I am talking to this person. Stop.
Yeah.
So Malachi and Linnea, Malachi is 5, Linnea is almost 3, and so they're very young, but I have to say they have learned tremendously, and I think it's very hard right now. We're in a culture that stay-at-home moms can be all about their children. Abby and I were talking about this last night a little bit, how it can be all about making your kids happy, doing 1.5 million very creative things for your children, and I just don't have the luxury to do that while I'm running everything else. But I've learned that my kids have adapted a lot, and they have learned how to be tough and also creative. And one of the compliments we get about them all the time is that they play by themselves. They're very self-sustaining. Well, that has come from me having to juggle the dynamics of the business and with them. And it doesn't mean that I don't pay attention to them. I just pay a more quality time than quantity.
That's awesome. That's good stuff. How about you, Levi?
I just teach them how to run chainsaws. And no, I'm just kidding. No, it's really awesome because this business has taken a lot of time, but it also creates more freedom of schedule to where if I really want to do something, I can schedule my life around that. And so we make it a point to not work on Sundays, and I try to be able to work our work schedule within no later than 5-6 o'clock p.m. so I still have time with my family every evening.
Yeah. And I would say we have so much more quality time too now that,
that's awesome.
Because Levi would come home, you know, angry or upset or just not in a good work environment when he was working a job. Now a job can be tough, but he creates the environment.
Yeah.
And so when he's coming home happy and satisfied with a job that he completed, a happy customer, and then also spends that happy, satisfied time with his family, it just creates a different dynamic. Like everybody has 24 hours. It's just how you create those 24 hours that makes a difference.
That's awesome. You guys are like shining stars, like up and comers. I call, like, we have different types of guests like we've thought about in our heads, and Chase isn't here to speak for this, so I'm just gonna do it because I took over this pod for all that is good. So, you know, like up and comers are like, okay, you built it, like, and you guys are just driving up, and in your plane it looks positive, you know. It's not a bell curve, it's just one of those like going up a mountain.
Yeah,
it's just like shooting for the sky, aiming for the sun, aiming for the stars. And so, like, just so much promise, and that's just awesome. So Lexi, like, in addition to strong roots, the Tree Guy, Michigan, parenting, being an entrepreneur with your family, you also have like a YouTube channel, you do photography. So let us in on a little bit of that side.
Yeah, so I always say about myself that I have like way too much creative energy for one person. So I'm constantly doing something. This is actually something that was a marriage conflict for a while, because I can't typically sit still and do nothing, except right after this I'm going to sunbathe for like an hour. But my YouTube channel started because, well, one of my best friends, Addie, has a YouTube channel. She's got a big following. She's got almost 60,000 subscribers now.
Wow.
But when she started, I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was cool. YouTube was always something I was kind of interested in. I guess it all stemmed from I always wanted to have a positive influence. I always felt like I had something to say that was worth saying, and I didn't know how to create a platform for that. When I was little, I wanted to be, some kids singing to a hairbrush. I would just give my speeches and tell everybody how to change the world. So I always had a passion for that, and YouTube kind of became that platform. Well, when I became a mom, it stemmed also from that, like, what do I do in my daily life with my kids? And it turned into something really cool, because YouTube, I found out, is like any other thing. It shouldn't have been this surprising that it's a lot of work, and maybe more work than a lot of the things that I do, and I don't get paid right now at all for YouTube. And so it's something that you build a foundation of, and it takes a while. But one thing that I love about it is that I have family all over, and everybody can kind of connect and stay connected to the kids. I am the worst social media person. Literally, like, I'm never on Facebook. I'm never on Instagram. I post like twice a year, if I remember. Like, I'm the worst at social media and getting back to people. Literally, I'm just terrible. So YouTube is one of the ways that people can stay connected with me. And I've created a lot of really neat relationships, especially over this pandemic. I've gotten to hear, specifically, like, I've got a really good friend in England and another one in Australia through my YouTube channel, and just seeing what's actually happening in those part of the worlds and stuff is really amazing. And I guess the vision for it is, yes, I would love to have a huge YouTube channel someday. I think that influence would be amazing. I'm going to start videoing a lot of my wood transformations.
Nice.
And putting those up, so that'll become part of it. And I don't know if eventually that'll become a whole separate channel itself, if it gets to be a niche environment. But yeah, I want to definitely build. The great thing that I have I've seen some other YouTubers, is I don't need the money from YouTube because of our other companies. And so it doesn't make me desperate to just create content for content's sake. Yeah. So I'm intentional with what I do, and I enjoy it.
I find myself resonating with you on that, because, I work a ton. And I've always, when I get home, I'm still, okay, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? And I have so many off-the-wall ideas, and I'm just like, oh, I could definitely do that. I was like, probably shouldn't, but I definitely could. But, I mean, part of the reason for this podcast is, kind of like what you were doing, like standing in front of the mirror with your microphone and trying to, be happy and spread positivity. And I wanted to just share mistakes and successes I've had with other people, so that they don't have to make the mistakes I made, and they can realize some of the successes I've had, and just share stuff and positivity and motivate people, and just try to, what are you going to do to benefit your life and other people while you're here? We're all in this thing together, and we all have our jobs, and we're all doing that, and we're fulfilling our purpose, and we're starting businesses, and we're fulfilling the purpose that business serves. but I just felt like it was like a missing piece. So your YouTube channel, like sharing positivity, letting people in on your life, and kind of linking that up with the Strong Roots edition, I think that'd be pretty cool. So,
yeah,
so
and I
awesome.
think one of the things that people, to go along with that, one of the things people are always longing for somebody that is real.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been okay with being authentic, even if I look dumb.
Yeah.
And so I think that's
Same
something
here.
that people appreciate about me. And I think when I'm not monetarily driven right now to do that, there's nobody has control or pull over me, and I think that makes a big difference, because as you watch YouTube, you can tell definitely some people who have been pulled by different influences, and I
then
think
all
it's
of a
good
sudden
just
their content changes and things
Yeah.
change, and I could definitely see that. So before we go, there's one thing, like we ask all the guests we have on the show, what is, like, and I'm not going to give you guys like a cop-out on this, like you give an answer and you got to give a different answer.
Okay.
So what's one piece of advice you could leave our listeners with, whether it's relationship, entrepreneurial, with your hobbies, anything, just one piece of advice you would like to leave our listeners with? I don't care who goes first.
I can go first.
Boom, double L.
Lex-
Stepping up. Power!
Pow! But, no, Lexi will resonate with this, and hopefully I didn't steal her answer. But we actually talked about this last night, and 4 o'clock in the morning, finally went to bed.
We're making power moves.
We were jacked. not on Red Bull, but we were jacked just because we haven't seen each other.
About life, yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
But when I talked to you about, we've been taught wrong most of our life. We've been taught, what do you want to do with your life? And then you go learn how to do it, and then it defines you. And I learned this a lot from Lexi's father, and because he speaks on leadership and finances, and it's a success principle that he uses in all of his material, and he flips that right around and says, all right, this is what you need to do, whether it's relationships, money, where you want to live, how you want your kids to be. Define that. Define everything you want in your life, and the more detailed you can be, the more you can be specific on how you get there. And then he goes into that, define that, and then find somebody who has that. Learn from them. It could be one person, or it could be multiple people. That you don't have to stick with one person, because you don't want one specific person's results. Like my dad's results in the tree company right now, because he's very successful. But I also like Lexi's father's success, because he has created a financial company to where he has bought his time back, and he has been doing that for over 2 decades, almost 3 decades now. And I like both of those results, and so I'm learning from both of them. And that, in a sense, you learn what they did to get there, and then you go do it.
Yep.
And that's all the advice that I can give, because it's like, all right, I can give you a million ways to say you can grow rich this way, this way, this way, but if you do not have a definition of what you want, you're never going to get there.
Yep.
And so, really, to simplify that is define what you want, learn from somebody who has that, go do it.
Yep.
Just do the work.
And like, hate to put it simply, but like, what is it? The water boy? Visualize and attack.
Exactly.
Well, in this case, visualize, find a mentor that's got that stuff.
Yep.
Pull the things you need to learn from that person, embody that, and sculpt it for yourself, and then after you've learned, apply it. Go out and do it.
Absolutely.
Boom. That's awesome. What about you, Lexi? What's a piece of advice you can leave our listeners with?
There's so many things floating around in my head. Like, I guess looking back on when it was really tough, one of the things that I would tell myself, or I would say, is just as simple as it is, don't quit on your dream. like when it's really, really, really tough, because if there's anything worthy in what you're doing, it's going to be tough. Just don't quit on it. And one of the ways that you can combat that is what somebody I follow calls, make it a romantic fantasy, almost like make it a battle in your life. Like, I am going to be doing this, and visualize the future of, like, you know, someday. Sometimes I'll sit down and be like, well, someday when I have 150,000 subscribers, and you know, there was somebody who was dealing with this, but something I said helped them through this. Like create the vision in your mind, create this romantic battle in your mind, and then allow that in the really tough times when you've got, you know, less than 2,000 subscribers, like I do right now, motivate you towards what you want. And I think if you create that and you stay consistent, you know, there's nothing that can stop you.
That's awesome.
So
good piece of advice. So guys, before we get off here, tell the people where you're at. How can they get in touch and find the Tree Guy? How can they get in touch and get some furniture done from Strong Roots? You know, where can they find you guys on website, social media, phone numbers, whatever you guys want to put out there?
Okay, well, our website is treeguync, like North Carolina.com. So you can find us there. Is it The Tree Guy or just Tree Guy?
I think it's just treeguync.com.
Treeguync.com.
Boom.
I think The Tree Guy I tried to make as a domain, and then I messed it up, and you know, so it's Tree Guy now. treeguync.com.
Boom.
And on there, I am going to have a whole section of that website that is dedicated to Strong Roots. There's going to be some really cool pieces I'm coming up with the next couple of months, so you can check me out there. If not there and you want to check out my YouTube channel, it's Lexi Lukonen on YouTube, just my name, so Lexi Lukonen on YouTube there, so you can subscribe to me there and see all the stuff in my bio, and I have all the links to there, everything.
Awesome.
So
anything you want to leave the people with, Levi?
She's got all the info.
Boom. She did it
She's
all.
got it all.
Look, just give him a chainsaw, guys.
I'll tell you
give
what.
him a chainsaw.
Put a tree in front of me and give me a chainsaw.
Pow.
Pow!
Well, thanks everybody for listening as always on the Power Move Podcast. This was Doug Lukonen on the Lukonen Takeover Show. No Chaze in the room. He'll get over it. He'll be fine. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. And until next time, deuces.
Deuces.